Hi Satika, we have started 2024 here with a lot of differences in the tax implications that have been come so far in the UAE. We have the corporate tax now. What is your say on this?
So Gopika, taxation has always been there in UAE. Since ever since 2018, there was something called VAT, that is the value-added tax, which was introduced. Until then, UAE was something that was completely tax-free. There was no tax, but since 2018, there was VAT, which had an implication on the residents, on companies, and many other things. But in regards with corporate tax, yes, that is something that is very new in the country, and that will affect the residents, also the individuals and businesses. It is a 9% on the net profit. How do you think it will affect the businesses?
When it comes to business entities, I personally feel like, yeah, till so far, yeah, we always had the value added tax, but a lot of financial regulations that the company needs to fulfill, I think it has enhanced because of the corporate tax introduction. Because starting from this year onwards, company needs to, annually submit their financials. They need to complete a mandatory audit for free zone companies. All these regulations are going to impose a lot of financial obligations on companies. And I think that's pretty much how it's going to impact both free zones, mainland, or when it comes to freelancers.
Right. And in regards with the free zone companies, you think that corporate tax will also be applicable for the free zone companies?
Absolutely. Of course, corporate tax is something that's very generically applied to all the companies' business in the mainland or to freelancers based on whatever income they're making throughout the financial year. Yes, of course, when it comes to free zones, yes, there are certain benefits provided to free zone considering a lot of obligations that they fulfill based on activities.
What do you think, the individuals or businesses have to do in order to get the proper information and regulations? Because I feel most of the people and companies, they rely on sources which are not, completely reliable, and, the information is not correct. I feel personally they should go through the FTA guidelines to get the proper, rules and regulations in accordance to the, government.
Of course. It's always good to just rely on data that's put forth by the Ministry of Finance or by the Federal Tax Authority. All the cabinet decisions that have been put forth is something that is completely legitimate, and we often tell everyone to only focus on those data and not rely on any other data which is posted on certain websites.
Okay. Do you think the penalties will be imposed on anyone if they do not follow the compliances?
Of course. All the companies in the UAE throughout, they need to have all the documentation which is mandated by the Federal Tax Authority. In case of, not keeping these financial data in place, they will have fines starting from 10,000 to, yes, which will compound based on the number of times they repeat the mistakes. And I think that's the same for freelancers as well, correct?
Right. I think for freelancers, the threshold is a bit different. It is not the regular threshold for the corporate tax. It is if your revenue crosses 1 million dirhams is when the corporate tax is applicable.
That's going to benefit a lot of freelancers because they don't really need to, start complying with the tax rules as long as they don't make that amount of money. And I think it's the same for sole establishments as well, because they are typically a sole owner who's sitting and doing the company's entire thing, and I think it's so good that they have that kind of a tax benefit.
In regards with the registration process, I think everyone it's applicable, right? I'm not sure.
It is applicable for everyone, but then again, when it comes to freelancers and when it comes to sole establishment companies, it is only mandatory once they have crossed the threshold, just like how we have for the value added tax. You cross the threshold and then you do. But for any other normal companies like an LLC or a civil companies, they all must complete the registration after the company formation is completed.
Right.
So what do you actually think about the personal income taxes? Do you think UAE might impose it, or I know at the moment it's not there, but what's your take on this?
I think, see, as of now, there's no personal income tax, and UAE is one of the countries among the world that, there's no personal income tax on anyone who's earning a salary or anything of that sort. There's only the corporate tax, which is a 9%. And again, individuals who have a monthly salary, that will not be affected for them. It's mostly, corporate tax is something that is mostly affected only to the companies, not individuals. If you are a resident, who is having a monthly salary, then I think this is something that will completely not affect you.
Okay. And what do you think would be the mandatory things that companies have to know starting from the day they receive their trade license?
I think the first and foremost thing the companies have to do is to maintain their financial statements. That is something I think, is very, very important. So even the companies will have an idea as well as they are, in compliance with the law. And do you think, for small businesses, do you think there's something the government can do?
Of course. we do have a regulation which has been put forth by the Federal Tax Authority, which is typically a small business relief, which is applicable for SMEs whose total revenue over a period of 3 years is less than 3 million AED, and they have to make sure that it's below the threshold for every single year. That's the benefit that we have so far, and this is applicable for both mainland and free zone entities.
That is very nice. Do you think there's any other taxation that will be coming up soon or anything of that sort?
At the moment, no. I believe that UAE is one of the countries that would always want to focus on having that name of being, one of the lowest tax rated countries in the world, and I think UAE would always go forward with that. But of course, even if we have any sort of taxes that's put forth in the future, we are kind of sure that that wouldn't be hefty as it is in a lot of countries.
So Gopika, I think it was really nice speaking to you. Very, very informative. I've got a lot of knowledge about taxation, corporate tax, all of that. Thank you.
Pleasure speaking to you, Sadhika. Stay tuned. We're going to be coming up with a lot more podcasts about corporate tax regulations in the UAE.